Well, my next two guests, a shorter pack a punch. I'm talking about the indomitable duo we at Sky are calling Powder and Shot, Labor legend Graham Richardson and Nationals MP Keith Pitt. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thanks very much.
Great to be with you.
Now, Richo, I'm sure you're overjoyed about the results in Victoria last night, but we'll kick off with some concerns around the renewed lurch to the left for the Labor Party as part of this sort of dynamic and Greens-Teal system. Albanese seems emboldened to no longer hide his left factional roots with policies that weren't taken to the election by the PM, including sending reparations to China, roping small businesses into industry-wide industrial action, which I talked about earlier in the show, residency plans for illegal immigrants, lowering the voting age to 16. There's a lot of things on the agenda at the moment. And as I said, Richo, this isn't stuff that the Labor Party took to the election. I don't think it's stuff that the Australian people voted for. And a lot of it's stuff that would send us into economic and social turmoil, wouldn't it?
I think if all this agenda was true, yeah, I don't think Australia would be a terrific place after it. But I don't believe all of it's true. And just as another comment, I would be very strongly opposed to lowering the voting age. I think that's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And so, no, this is not a Labor-approved agenda.
Well, Keith, I mean, did we get the Albanese that we voted for, I suppose, is the question here. I know he spent a lot of time outside of the country, so we might not actually know what he thinks, but are we getting a different version of Labor to the one that Australia voted for?
Oh, well, firstly, congratulations to Richo and Victorian Labor, but don't forget the fantastic results of the Victorian Nats under Peter Walsh. They've taken 2 seats back from independents, looked like a gain in Morwell. But look, in terms of Mr Albanese, he played a small target. He didn't really say what the agenda was, and now we know that it's exactly the same as what it was under Bill Shorten. It is a far-left agenda. They are attacking what are our social norms, but the people have voted for a Labor government and they'll get one.
But just talking to the coalition now, Keith, do you lot perhaps need to take a look in the mirror as well and bolster yourselves against the moderate woke wing of your party? I mean, we saw what happened in Victoria last night down here. It doesn't seem like the opposition could barely touch the sides of the Andrew government. You've got to stand for something, don't you?
Oh, look, I agree with that. You can never out-left the left. I think that's an absolute fallacy. In the last federal election, I'm from Queensland, we did our job. We held nearly all of our seats. In fact, Labor lost one up there, but unfortunately to the Greens, which is another issue. We should never preference the Greens. They are anarchists. They're bad for our country. They shouldn't be in Parliament. And both major parties should do everything they can to make sure that they don't ever get returned. But instead, we see more and more Greens. They're not these tree-hugging friendly people. They want to destroy our economy and make us a socialist state.
Now, we've also seen how Labor and other nations at G20 were hailing China's engagement as some sort of victory for mankind, where Xi Jinping was posing for pictures and speaking with dignitaries. But I mean, there's nothing really concrete has materialised out of any of this. There's no promises that have been made. China hasn't really made any concessions of any value, Richo. Are we really getting anywhere here?
Well, I think you can't take a short-term view of this. You know, the Chinese have a long-term view of everything, absolutely everything. And I think here in Australia, we're far too keen to take a short-term view. Sorting out relations with China is going to take a long time because the Chinese will not let it be done in a short time. And that's just something we have to understand and accept, because there's nothing we can do about it. So we keep trying, we keep talking, we do our best, knowing that the Chinese are going to keep this up for quite some time. They're going to show us the door for as long as they can. Eventually they'll weaken, but it's a time when they'll choose, not us.
Now, in this climate-obsessed political climate, it's been said time and time again by those of us with a brain, and I think that includes all of us on the panel tonight, that it's really quite mind-boggling that nuclear power has not been part of the Australian conversation when it comes to reducing emissions and having reliable baseload power. Well, more than a dozen of the nation's top scientists were fed up. They descended on Canberra to present the case for modern nuclear power generation. Keith, modern nuclear is a far cry from Chernobyl and Fukushima and all this sort of nonsense that went on decades ago. Why are we not having a serious discussion in this country about nuclear energy?
Oh, that's exactly right. I went to a number of the sessions organised by Dr. David Gillespie, and it was like talking to a mirror. It all sounded very familiar. But I've just come back from a delegation to Germany and Madrid for NATO, and most European countries are moving back to nuclear. There's bills in South Korea and the UAE, the Czechs, the Polish. They're all looking at those opportunities because, I mean, if you want to be serious about this, if you really want carbon neutral electricity, which is reliable and affordable, this is the only game in town. I mean, Blackout Bowen's Nirvana, I mean, the path to that, you better take a candle because it just won't work.
I know. I just can't believe we're not talking about this, Richo. Surely, very quickly, this is something that, even if it doesn't get off the ground, we should unban it and have a serious discussion.
Of course we should.
Come on, Rich, are you with us?
I agree with you 100%. I mean, I think that you know, the mood has changed, but also so has the technology. And these small nuclear plants are the thing of the future. They're going to happen.
Yeah.
And you know, you can be the boy trying to plug holes in the dike, but you won't win. And I think we should be embracing this new technology and doing our best with it.
Here, Keith Pitt, Graham Richardson, thank you for your time.
Thanks very much.